Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in to another episode of the Insight NFL show. I'm your host, as always, the Maverick. Today, boys, day one of free agency. I tell you what, my phone was blowing up every 5 minutes. I don't know about you boys, but Mullin, how you going, mate? What do you think of day one as a whole to start off with?
Hectic. Absolutely everything that I was hoping for, just madness everywhere, heaps of different positions. News was just dropping like crazy today. And just, I know for one, I did next to no work for the first few hours this morning, just kind of checking X and trying to shoot trades across multiple leagues, trying to, capitalize on some small windows. But yeah, a great first day.
Yeah, it's one of those things where free agency, trade period, trade deadline as such, should I say. It's one of those periods for me where, like, outside of the season, it's just box office sort of stuff. Dfab, your Broncos have made a bit of a splash already.
Oh,
How are we
mate.
looking, mate? You're looking pretty jammed up. I know you've been posting pretty hard in our little private chat with Broncos shit, so they can get out. But
Mate,
all in all,
unfurl the red carpet.
Day one.
Unfurl the red carpet, mate. We are going deep. I'm thrilled after today. Getting some very solid moves. Feeling very, very happy about how my Broncos are looking. But overall, it's popping off early. I wasn't expecting day one to be so full on, but things are dropping left, right, and center. I'm a bit like Damo. It's been hard to stay away from my phone. So it's fun. It's what we want. This is what we're here for.
Yeah, it's always one of those things as well. I mean, even before day one even started, there was deals dropping. So, teams have had sort of a month or two now to sort of work it out and have a bit of an internal chat to see what they need. I mean, they're ready to go for tomorrow, I'd imagine already. So, deals are going to fly pretty early, I'd imagine. But let's start off with the first bit of news. A few days ago, the first chess piece, not really big first chess piece, might I add, but Geno Smith got moved on to the Raiders for a third-round pick. This was interesting, boys. I found this was like the starting point for the Seahawks, looking to sort of rebuild, I suppose. And then obviously DK Metcalf fell the next day. What do we think about? Let's put DK Metcalf and Geno Smith together in these two trades. What do we think all in?
I'll jump in for the Raiders. I think it's a great move for those guys. It'll be interesting to see what kind of contract they throw at Geno's way. There was, news kind of drop post Sam Darnold trade, or signing that we'll come up to very shortly, that the Seahawks had offered Geno $45 million a year, 2-year extension, and he just flat out turned it down and then requested a trade on the same day. So Raiders are probably going to have to offer him $50 million plus for him to kind of sign on board there. I think it's a whole upgrade for the offense compared to the absolute shit show that they had last year in Desmond Ridder and Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. Brock Bowers is going to be the main beneficiary of this. Absolutely. Jacoby Myers as well, of course. I can see them adding another wide receiver at least, whether it's in the draft or if they try and trade for another guy. Maybe Tyler Lockett. They pick him up for cheap to kind of bring him back to Pete Carroll. So all in all, great for Raiders. And in terms of DK Metcalf, awesome. Yeah, I don't know how that kind of Steelers offense is going to look because that quarterback is a very big question mark at the moment. The way that I see it, I can't see them keeping George Pickens. I think they're pretty similar wide receivers in their skill sets, and I can't see if the Steelers come in, they say to George Pickens, you're the WR2 now. We're not going to pay you. You're not going to get as many targets and catches and everything like that. I think he'll probably blow up and they'll just ship him off somewhere or whatnot. So, for DK Metcalf, I think his value is probably going to rise depending on the quarterback situation, of course. And, wheels up for the Raiders.
DFAB. Now, obviously,
I'll keep it
on the I guess the DK Metcalf news as such.
Yes.
They don't have a QB at the moment.
Yeah.
Justin Fields signed a new contract, but DK's in the house. He signed a big deal, 5 years, $150 million. Who are they going to get? Aaron Rodgers is probably the guy you'd imagine, but what are they going to do?
I don't know. I'm a little bit different to Mullin in that I'm actually quite optimistic that both guys could work together. in the Steelers, purely for the fact that it depends who they get. Like, personally, me being the sicko I am, I want to see Jameis Winston get a crack, purely for the fact that last year DK was in terms of all downfield metrics, he was number 1 and Pickens was number 4. You give me that, just full gun, spread everything, go hard. I don't care if he's going to throw like 70 touchdowns and 90 picks. Like, it would be the most ridiculous thing and the most fun thing ever for fantasy. But outside of the sicko dream, it's really hard to pick. I think there is a bit of credence to Pickens is probably gone, and probably why they chased DK as hard as they did and gave him the bag straight away. I don't think those two long term, outside of the perfect QB fit, I don't think they're necessarily going to be able to make it work. Very intriguing how that looks. If I'm a Pickens owner, I'm feeling a little uneasy at the moment, if I'm honest.
I'm just looking forward to training camp to seeing them fight over number 14. That's what I'm more excited for. Who's going to get
any corner? God help any corner that's trying to match up with those guys.
That's what I'm looking forward to the most, is the battle for 14.
Oh, yeah.
Now, let's move on to the next bit of news, which dropped off this morning, which I thought was quite large. I did not expect this, to be honest, after the current moves they made, the Seahawks. But they signed Sam Darnold, 3 years, $100 million. I thought that was interesting. It looked like they were going down the rebuilding path, and then came out and signed Sam Darnold to I guess a pretty good deal. I know, I understand that you can't go into the year with no QB, so I get you have to spend money somewhere. But Sam Darnold, I suppose, is still pretty young. Had a pretty good year. What do we think? First impressions on Sam Darnold, Dfab?
Hate it. Horrible move. I don't understand it. They've moved on from, a recycled veteran to arguably bringing in another recycled journeyman that's been popped around. He had a great year last year, but I don't see it. He's not a franchise guy. I don't think he's going to be, the guy that they count on for the next 4 or 5 years. I think it was a horrible pickup. And as much as I would like the idea of Sam Darnold kind of, again, proving everyone wrong after a good year, I think he was just a system QB that benefited of a really good system.
Mullin, what do you think?
Yeah, I think bringing Darnold in, they're going to have to really strengthen up that offensive line. I mean, they got absolutely killed in that area last year. And Darnold, we've seen what he's like under pressure. He's not great. Yeah. And that system that he was on the Vikings, that's the best system in the league that you can walk into for any quarterback, I think. So, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, he was just kind of set up for success. It's going to be a very different scenario at the Seahawks. And like you kind of touched on, Maverick, it does seem like a bit of a rebuilding move. I think Sam Darnold was about 7 years younger or so from Geno, and they did pick up a 3rd-round pick. So we'll see how that kind of materializes. But also, just on the contract, I saw somewhere it was only $55 million guaranteed. So I guess they're not really kind of locking down as much than what it kind of seems on paper. So maybe a 2-year deal, kind of see how it goes.
It does feel like a 2-year deal for sure. I would have preferred seeing them trade up and get a QB in the draft maybe, but, so be it. Next bit of news, boys. Justin Fields went to the Jets this morning. That was a pretty big deal. I did not expect this. I did think it'd stay at the Steelers personally. 2 years, $40 million, $30 million of it, I believe, was guaranteed. So it could be a very much a 1-year deal for him if he doesn't perform in year one. So how do we feel first impressions? I actually personally really liked it. I thought it was a no harm deal. He's got that connection now with Garrett Wilson. They played together in college. So at least they've got some sort of chemistry going into the year. But, all in all, I really liked it. What do you think, Mullin?
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, bringing Justin Fields in with Garrett Wilson, that Ohio State connection that they had in college. And I think Aaron Glenn, being the new head coach for the Jets, he's just going to try and he just wants to win games, really. And I think Justin Fields, he shows that he can really win games, and then also kind of bring the defense a bit more into it, because he's going to be slowing down the clock, running a lot more, opening up that running game. I really like it for Breece Hall. I don't think he'll be catching as many receptions, but I feel like, a couple more years removed from that injury that he sustained in his knee and how explosive he was, I think that'll just kind of open up a lot more room for him to work. But yeah, very happy with the move. If not the Steelers, I was hoping that he'd go for the Jets. So as a Justin Fields manager in multiple leagues, I'm pretty happy with the outcome.
Dfab?
I'm a little less optimistic. So I think the Jets were desperate to bring someone in that looked like they could play, and Fields is as competent enough a game manager as you could have. He's got dual threat capability. He's got a connection with Garrett Wilson, so there is the possibility of upside. But he's 11-9 in his last 20. He's very much middle of the pack. It's only a 2-year deal, so they're not remortgaging the house or anything like that if it does fail. I think they need to try to make some moves in the draft, if not this year, next year. They need to try to bring someone in and trust the process and let a young guy kind of develop. He's not a bad dude to sit in the hot seat while we wait for someone else to come through. There is upside there, but I think they'll be pretty middle of the road. The only thing I worry about with Breece Hall, he is going to get a lot of opportunity still.
Yeah.
Maybe old school thinking. I worry that it's going to be very clearly a run-first offense. They're going to run some action for Justin Fields. I always worry that the upside of your workhorse running back is always capped when you've got a hyper mobile QB who likes to get outside the pocket. He likes to break the lines. That's one of his first kind of fail safes, as opposed to someone like an Aaron Rodgers who loves to dump off to the running back. So it is going to cap his upside in that he's not going to get as many passes out of the backfield. And a lot of those runs are just going to be, oh no, pockets collapsed. See you later. But he's still so talented. He's still going to be fine.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I think that this offense it's going to look quite good at certain times. I'm not a massive fan on Justin Fields' arm as a whole. Like, he's shown glimpses that he can pass, but consistently, I'm not sure if he can. But yeah, I'm excited to see how this offense is going to look. They probably need another receiver now that Adams obviously gone, but it's Garrett Wilson, who honestly has been pretty underwhelming for the most part of his career. I mean, poor QB play for the most part, sure, but underwhelming for mine. And really no one else. So that's going to be one to watch right there to see if they can draft someone or fix up in free agency. To lesser news, Zach Wilson signed a 1-year deal at the Dolphins. So they've got their backup QB just in case Tua goes down injured, which is every chance. And Kenny Pickett, and Kenny Pickett's gone to the Browns, who has every chance of starting there next year. So watch this space on the Browns and see what they do over the next, I guess, couple of months. They've got pick 2 in the draft. So I expect Travis Hunter, but, who knows? Aaron Jones, boys, signed a 2-year extension. We don't really need to touch on that. He's obviously coming back. It's a good move, safe move, knows the offense really well. Happy with that. Najee Harris dropped today. A 1-year deal, $9 million to the Chargers with the run-first offense now. So Najee's going to really complement them really well. Him and J.K. Dobbins are in the house. I think it's going to be a really nice move.
Yeah. Well, I think, is J.K. Dobbins still there?
Free agent.
I think he's a free agent. Yeah. I'm not sure if he's still there, but I love the pairing. Greg Roman, Jim Harbaugh. It's built to be a run-first offense. Najee's a power back. Showed that he can do it last year. I know he's burnt a lot of people in the past in fantasy. It's a scary name, but I love it. For both football and fantasy, I love it.
Yeah. And especially now they've got no Gus Edwards either. They just released him just recently too. So Najee Harris will be the starting running back. It's only a 1-year deal, so unfortunately for Najee, he didn't get his long-term deal. But hey, it's a prove-it contract, I suppose, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah. And I think just to jump in there, it just kind of opens up what they can do with the rookie draft coming up. They don't really need to heavily invest that first round in an RB, even though we'd absolutely love to see it. It's an absolute dream spot for a rookie to come in, but they might add more to the defensive line since they moved Joey Bosa now as well. So maybe they'll use that first round pick. Probably just frees them up a bit more in the rookie draft, really. So.
Javonte Williams on a 1-year deal with the Cowboys. We're on the board, boys. We got our man.
Thanks for taking that.
Really happy about that one. Look,
I'm thrilled.
Yeah, you can see it from one ear to the other. I'm just grinning it left, right, and center. So that's
I didn't think you could downgrade from Ezekiel Elliott, but here you go.
Yeah. Perfect fit. Now we're going to get to the wide receivers here. This one was massive. This happened a few days ago, but 2 days ago maybe. But Devontae Adams signed a 2-year, $46 million deal to the Rams. This wasn't on my bingo card at all. I did not think this would be a landing spot for him, but boom, it was. I love it. I'm just saying it just quietly. I love the move. The Rams are going all in on probably another year or two for contention. You know, obviously Stafford just signed another deal with them to stick around for big coins. So between him and Puka, between Adams and Puka, it's going to be such a fun offense to watch, isn't it, Dfab?
Yeah, 100%. I think not to neg out at the start. This to me is alarm bells for Cooper Kupp. I don't think that like to move, you know, to put an aging veteran on the training block just to bring in an aging veteran says a lot about whether it's his declining health, whether he's unhappy with the front office. There's something going on there that hasn't quite come out. So alarm bells there. But in terms of the trade itself, say again.
He could get released. Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. Which there's something that needs to come out. Cooper Kupp's been too good for too long for it to just be we're going to go in another direction. So keep an eye out on that. But in terms of Devontae Adams, even just in a vacuum of last year, New York Jet Adams, he seemed like he's a perfect complement. He's been used to playing that almost hybrid wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. He's going to be able to complement Puka Nacua, and he's still an elite red zone threat. And I think he outscored Garrett Wilson with, I think what we can all agree was a pretty average Aaron Rodgers. Matt Stafford was able to make. I was listening to, who was it today? It might have been PFF or someone, but he made Kenny Golladay a 1,000 yard, 12 touchdown receiver. Like Matt Stafford is going to make Devontae Adams.
And got him paid too.
Wide receiver next year. Got him paid too, and he was hopeless, mate. He was hopeless. So I think this is massive for Devontae Adams, and to me, he's got top 12 upside next year.
Mate, same with Stafford too. I mean, he's complemented so many wide receivers and multiple wide receivers in the past as well. So this is another move that I absolutely love. And look, Kyron Williams is still in the house too. So who's playing for a new contract. So this is going to be fun to watch this offense, isn't it, Mullin?
Yeah, I'm wheels up. And just looking at kind of this trade as a whole, Matt Stafford is absolutely through the roof with what he has now. And looking last year, the year prior, Puka Nacua has missed time. Just imagine Devontae by himself with Matt Stafford. You know, if Puka's out, is he a top 5 wide receiver like in redraft, like during that kind of stage? Like you can't tell me he's not going to be dropping 20 consistently if Puka is out or, missing time. So Matt Stafford is definitely the biggest riser in this for me. And also Kyron Williams, that offense improves as a whole. So, more touchdown opportunities, even though he just loves them, 12 or 13 touchdowns last year as is. So, great move. A great move.
Yeah, I think it slightly hurts Puka's fantasy value, bringing in obviously Adams in the house. But again, as I said before, Matt Stafford has complemented wide receivers in multiple in the past. So they'll be fine. They'll both put up some large numbers.
I think it just hurts his consistency. I don't think his ceiling's any worse. I think it's just there's going to be weeks where he has a 6 because Devontae Adams got the touchdowns and he got the targets that week because of the matchup. But I don't think that either of them are anything to be.
I think it hurts his value as a whole. Like I had him as top 5 coming into the week, I suppose.
Now that's probably, fair.
Now he's probably top 10. Which is still fine. But that's the difference, I suppose.
For sure.
Chris Godwin's back in the house at the Bucks. 3 years, $66 million off a knee. That will really hurt Jalen McMillan now. Is there any sort of hopes on McMillan for fantasy? Is probably, I wouldn't say completely dust, but it takes a hit. So we know Chris Godwin has been a superstar for years upon years at the Bucks, so he knows the system well. It's going to be a nice offense. Hopefully he can get back healthy. Josh Palmer, this is alarm bells for me, Mullin. I'm going to start with you. But Josh Palmer signed a 3-year, $36 million deal to the Bills. Look, did I hate the deal? Not really. I don't mind the deal. It's fine. But Keon Coleman, I'm really worried about now.
Yeah, worried about Keon. I think for Josh Palmer, it just kind of fills a hole. He's a serviceable wide receiver. Kind of slots in. He complements Khalil Shakir with kind of the role that he's going to play. When I first kind of saw this, I thought maybe they're very high on Kincaid because reports have been coming out that Kincaid was very injured for most of last year.
Yeah.
Some weeks that, he wasn't even ready to play, but he was still suiting up and just kind of out there getting his cardio up. So I think Kincaid could be the sneaky kind of value riser as we get through the season. But in terms of the Bills, they lost Mac Hollins. They had to kind of fill that gap, and Palmer was out there for cheap.
Yeah, great call with Kincaid. I heard the same report that he was banged up. And we hear about it with tight ends all the time where they have a banged up year, they get their off season, they come back and they seem to bounce back pretty quick. Josh Palmer feels like a much better real life football trade or pickup
Agreed.
than it does fantasy. It's kind of, honestly, I think it's kind of irrelevant for us, for anyone in Dynasty redraft, not even close to being on my board. I'd much rather go hard on Kincaid because I think he's the guy with the ceiling instead of the lotto ticket of working out which wide receiver in any given week. Will it be Shakir? Will it be It's just, that's a dog's breakfast, I think.
Yeah, he's a field stretcher for sure.
Yeah.
Josh Palmer. It's going to be a fun offense to watch. Just get him long. He'll probably play the Mac Hollins role, to be fair. So
Yeah, exactly.
That'll be fun to watch. Hollywood Brown stays with the Chiefs on a 1-year deal. Cool. Happy to see him healthy and playing a full year at the Chiefs. That'll be fun to watch. Another field stretcher for them. Hopefully we can get some dynamic plays and some large plays going out of the Chiefs, because that's gone out of their game in the last year, which has been boring as batshit. Christian Kirk, boys. Christian Kirk signed to the Texans, or got traded to the Texans, should I say, for like a day 3 pick. I think it was a round 6 or round 7 pick from memory.
Yeah, peanuts.
Absolute peanuts. But I really like that deal. I think Stephon Diggs is probably gone now. I think that's his direct replacement. Younger version of Stephon Diggs. If he can stay healthy, boys, I could probably see another 1,000-yard season out of him if he stays healthy. I think he's got talent. I really like him, but health has always been a massive concern.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep. I'm on the same page as you. Yeah, couldn't have said it any better. I think, and he complements BTJ really well in that offense. So it'd be good to see.
Dfab?
Yeah, no, I agree. Honestly, nothing to add. It's a great pickup. I like it.
I like what you're talking.
Yeah, just keep it simple. I got nothing to add. So it's I think it's just a really solid move.
Diami Brown, sign with the Jags, whatever. Mac Hollins for the Patriots. Another weapon there, or a weapon there for Mac Jones. I don't mind it. Don't mind it at all. Had a good year at the Bills. So, cool. Don't think he's fantasy relevant, but like the deal. Slayton signed a 3-year deal. Re-signed a 3-year deal to stay at the Giants. I don't know who it was. Was it you, Damo, that put into our chat that he signed to pretty much exactly the same deal as what Saquon signed with at the Eagles?
Yep. Exact same deal. Like, it makes no sense to me. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. The Giants just, they need a lot of good vibes thrown in that building. Like, I don't know what's going on. It's just, no words. No words.
I love it. And I love that, like, the wider, like, fantasy pundit community is trying to help him out as well, being like, oh yeah, this is an A pickup grade, they've got the perfect complement to neighbors. Horrible deal. He's at best average. He's always hurt. It's a bad deal. And then the context of the Saquon deal, that they should have paid him, that they let him walk, it's just, that's a joke. It's almost like they're the new Cleveland Browns. They just keep finding new ways of impressing with how badly they're making decisions.
Yeah, it's
it's horrible.
Again, it's a giant move, isn't it?
Yeah, I said it in our group chat. I really wish we could have another season of Hard Knocks Giants just to see what they're thinking in that front office, because, mate, it's not.
That'd be fist pumping. Go, we did it, boys. We got him.
We got our man.
Mike Gesicki stays with the Bengals, 3 years, $25 million deal. I like it. I think he had a really good year. A bit of money to spend on a tight end when they really haven't got a lot of money to spend, aka T. Higgins. But okay, Gesicki stays. I don't mind it for fantasy purposes. I think he's probably a low-end tight end now. We saw it with Joe Burrow. He absolutely feasted. So Gesicki is sort of on my radar, but I don't know. He's a sneaky option.
Yeah, he's a late guy with I think Eric All was the TE that they brought in the year prior, and he suffered an ACL. So it's probably the deal that they had to make. And he has that familiar, oh my God, I can't even talk right now. He's got that connection already with Joe Burrow. And we've seen we've seen what he could do with when T. Higgins missed game. Yeah, Gesicki had some really big weeks. I think he dropped a couple of 20s here and there. So yeah, we've seen what he can do without Higgins. And I'm just going to shut up for a little bit.
Oh, mate, there's every chance we don't see T. Higgins in the house either. So watch this space. And also on the notes here that you didn't put in, but Zach Ertz also signed a 1-year deal to stay at the Commanders. So I know you put on socials the other day, Mullin, about Sinnott. You're a bit high on him. I'm a bit lower on him. I think it's bad news for Sinnott personally. He probably has to wait another year. Zach Ertz has got the chemistry. He's in the house. But hey, mate, they could play 2 tight ends. You never know.
He's old. He's an old man. Approaching 35 years old. Just takes, just get hit the wrong way and sentence just wheels up. Won't cost you anything.
I couldn't agree more. Honestly, I couldn't agree more. He does cost nothing with or without Zach Ertz. So I don't mind the upside.
Yeah. Quick one to add for you very quickly, Mav. Again, this is one for the sickos. 2 big pickups that I have absolutely loved was the trade by the Commanders to get Laramie Tunzel. Franchise left tackle, awesome help for Jaden Daniels. Another reason why, if he moves to the QB 101 for some people after that move, I can understand it. He's an absolute stud. And then something that we mentioned in a previous pod about the Bears needing to shore up their O-line, specifically picking up Joe Thuney, for, again, people that don't know much about O-line guys, he was at the Chiefs last year. He's past his prime, but he's a veteran. It's just another piece that you need to protect, sorely protect. What I can only imagine is still a limping Caleb Williams. So 2 big moves.
They've made 3 moves now for the O-line to shore that up. So they've made it instead of going to the draft and getting a rookie who doesn't come up, let's go get some experience in there and let's beef up that O-line. I love what they're doing there at the O-line, and they've had to do it for years upon years. It's been like 6 or 7 years now they've had to fix that up, but they finally addressed the issue. Well, maybe, but
really encouraging. Really encouraging.
It is. So maybe we'll get to see Caleb Williams have more time in the pocket to fire down the line now instead of dancing around the pocket like a lunatic. But and
it gives Ben Johnson chances to actually create plays that have chances to develop. It's not just looking at quick slants and in and unders and stuff. Like, it's very clear why they've done it. Yeah, it's really exciting for Bears overall. In all honesty, those picks, that pick specifically for the Bears and the 3 O-line kind of shore ups that they've made, have every single player on the Bears slowly creeping up my list.
Mate, I agree. I love it. Absolutely love it. All right, fellas. Now, the reason why we're actually here is to try and give the viewers a bit of knowledge on what a draft pick in the 2025 rookie draft is going to be in comparison to an established NFL player. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. We're going to look a bit smaller on the screen too, which is probably good for the viewers at home.
Good heads for radio.
Yeah. So we're going to start off with the 101, boys. Now, the 101 is always going to look like Ashton Genty, right? We're all in agreement that the 101 is Ashton Genty. So
agreed, yeah, definitely.
The 101 currently, and this is thanks to Dynasty Data Lab for the vision on the screen, but the 101 currently is linked to around Nico Collins, CJ Stroud, Drake May, Saquon Barkley, and let's finish it off there at Drake London. So if you're a team and you've got the 101 and you don't need a running back, or you don't want a running back because you're not in the window, you need a wide receiver, mate, Nico Collins, Drake London, Marvin Harrison, I'd even chuck in that same category, would be a perfect straight swap for that pick. Are we all in agreement there?
100%.
Agreed.
Yeah, big time.
Considering Genty hasn't actually played a game yet of football, the fact that he is, I'm just going to bring up his ranking right now in Dynasty. He's currently ranked as the RB6. Now, I love the hype. I really love the profile. It's just insane. Now, he's a rookie running back. They'll use him left, right, and center. He'll be the focal point of any offense that he gets to. We're not sure where he goes to yet. Could be the Broncos, and I'd love that. But, he's, again, around Devon A-Chain and Jonathan Taylor currently in rankings. So, I would be looking at Nico Collins hard for a straight swap for the 101 personally.
Yeah, and just to segue, just on our video last week, about rebuilding, if you do have the 101, these are the players that you want to target. Young stud quarterbacks in Drake May, CJ Stroud, even Caleb Williams. You might be able to get a deal done. Maybe the manager from last year is just like, I don't care about Ben Johnson. I don't care about the moves they're making. I just want to get rid of him. I'm sure they'd be happy with the 101. Young wide receivers, Nico Collins, Drake London, Marvin Harrison. That is the absolute pieces that you want to target for those rebuilding teams that are holding the 101.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And I know there's Saquon Barkley sitting there as well as an option. As much as I really like Saquon Barkley, and he's just on a new deal, don't get me wrong, age is still a factor. So I'm taking the younger running back in this scenario. I know it's bullish to say, it's bold to say that, hey, I prefer a guy who hasn't played a snap yet over Saquon Barkley. But in Dynasty, youth is just a massive, massive thing. So that is probably the only reason why I prefer it.
100%, Mav. And honestly, that was going to be my 2 cents on this, is that if you are someone that owns Saquon Barkley, or, someone that's had an insane year and is on the older, they're closer to, 26, 27, 28, and you want to make a move, that you could very easily flip Saquon Barkley. You might lose out season 1, season 2, but you bring in essentially who we all expect to be the Saquon-esque replacement coming in 2 years. If you've got Saquon on your team, more than likely you're in a winning squad. You can push, go get that. And that's the kind of player you can make a flip for and keep yourself at the top of your dynasty ladder, as opposed to having to bottom out and then go on full-blown rebuild. You can kind of fast start that now.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, when you got the 101, or if you're rebuilding, you would have the 101, unless you've made some master stroke trades along the way. Generally, you are going to be rebuilding. So, drafting a running back at 101 just feels just so odd to me, because I mean, it's the finishing touch drafting running backs. As I said in last week's episode, they're shorter lifespans in the NFL. So I'd be going out and getting a Nico Collins who's got 10 years left of play in him, and probably 6 or 7 solid years left to play in him. And probably more 7 to 8, should I say. And cashing in on the fact that you can get Nico Collins for longer than Genty, possibly. Now, the 102, boys, that is widely considered to be either Cam Ward, which I don't think it would be. I'm more thinking it's going to be Ted McMillan. Now, this is going to be an interesting one, because I'm really high on Ted McMillan. I just don't know where he's going to land yet. So we'll know more in about a month and a half's time. There's every chance he ends up on the Patriots at pick 4, I think it is, which might rise his value a little bit. But this has got ranked Ted McMillan around, Bucky Irving, Sam Laporta, which I don't agree with personally, Brock Purdy, Jonathan Taylor, Baker Mayfield, Rasheed Rice, or if you go up a couple of pegs here, we've got AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson. Very, very high on Ted McMillan, boys. I'm so high on him. I would probably put him in that AJ Brown category personally. I think that's probably a good comparison. But again, if you're running back needy, Bucky Irving is the guy there. Breece Hall is the guy there. If you're QB needy, Kyler Murray, completely fine. And we've got Brock Purdy, who's probably going to sign one of the biggest deals of all time in the next 12 months. I'm not sure about Purdy, but I'm definitely sure on Kyler Murray.
Yeah, it's a hard one. I always struggle with quantifying a completely unproven talent with someone as established and elite as an AJ Brown. So I'll always have the approach of, if you can go and get an AJ Brown or a Garrett Wilson, or you could somehow pry a JSN, or even someone like a Brock Purdy or a Jonathan Taylor, if you can get that kind of player for the 102, especially pre-draft, not knowing where these players are going to go, I would 100% be making that move. That being said, I agree with you that someone like a Ted McMillan has that kind of ceiling. If you do go for a Cam Ward, or at the 102, you would have reached for a Shota Sanders. That they're not horrible picks, and it's probably in that scope of player around that, like a Kyler Murray or a Cam Ward. I don't know which one I prefer, so that's a pretty good evaluation, I think.
And sorry, Maverick, just to jump in, I'm the same as Dfab. There, it's always best to kind of go for those known commodities. Just take the risk out of it. We've seen what these guys can do. We know the environments or the ecosystems that they're already a part of, and their roles in those systems. I've seen on Keep Trade Cut JSN for the 102 straight up. More than happy to do that. I think if you can 100%. Trade the 102 for JSN, I think that is absolutely money. And looking at this kind of startup ADP, the 102 and JSN is a little bit around apart. We just kind of have to remember that this is for startup rankings compared to existing leagues where players already have their full roster and they're just kind of drafting in these rookies just by themselves. So we kind of need to keep that in mind. But still, this gives us, very good values of what the current, kind of thoughts are on these players in startup drafts.
And especially because the draft hasn't even been had more we don't know landing spots just yet. So landing spots is also a massive thing too.
Yeah.
It changes the whole dynamic of how we view these players. I mean, I've got
100%.
here as the third best player on my list here. I've got probably Cam Ward. He's slowly dropping at the moment in drafts. He was probably the 101 a month ago. Now he's probably the 103, 104 possibly. So he's dropping pretty hard. Depending on who trades up, we could always see a trade. We could always just see him fall. We just don't know. But let's say Cam Ward is the 103. He's probably the best QB in the class. So that compares him to, let's compare him to other QBs here on this list. Trevor Lawrence, Michael Penix, Jared Goff, JJ McCarthy. Keep in mind, Cam Ward's professional comparison is Geno Smith. Bit of a gunslinger, not afraid to throw it around, is prone to turnovers, but could have multiple 300-yard plus games with 2+ touchdowns. So upsides there for Cam Ward. I would like to see him probably sitting for 12 months personally, but let's see where he gets drafted. What do you think about that comparison there to those QBs? Dfab?
I think it's probably that. I guess that kind of gunslinger is probably the closest comp that we're going to get. I am a big believer, and funnily enough, it's something that Tom Brady talked about in his post-career kind of media circles. I think it's the best possible result for any QB that comes in, irrespective of how NFL ready they look, for them to sit for a year. So in an ideal world, as painful as it might be, I'd love to see, I don't want to see Cam Ward go to somewhere like a Tennessee where he's going to be thrust into playing straight away. I kind of hope that somehow Cam Ward does go at 2 to the Browns, and that Deshaun Watson gets healthy and he can at least try to play out a year, give Cam a bit of time to get up to speed, start recognizing the pace of the NFL compared to college, and then crack in. I think it's going to be the best possible result, but it's all guessing at the moment. It just depends,
Yeah, it is. And Mullin, I'm looking at this straight comparison right here. 103 to Roma Dunze. If you want to trade out of this draft for an established player, Roma Dunze would be an awesome option. Now, there's rumors going around at the moment that Keenan Allen's not coming back. There's rumors going around that he's going to go to the Chargers, possibly as a reunion. 103 for Dunze, I really like it. I really, really like it.
Oh, and honestly, I think you can get more on top than Roma Dunze. I've seen him go for 105, 106. I don't think you need to pay that much to get Roma Dunze.
Yeah,
but hey, if you can get a second on the way back, maybe even maybe like a WR3 that's kind of young and kind of has potential even as well. It's definitely a move to make. To touch on that rebuilding, these young wide receivers where their value is just poised to absolutely skyrocket. Now that he's had that opportunity, especially if Keenan Allen leaves, Ben Johnson on board, Caleb Williams more time to throw. Yeah, I can't see his value. I think he'll be sitting up with Drake London, Marvin Harrison, and those guys this time next year, personally. He'd be a great target.
Yeah,
perfect, boys. Perfect. Now, the 104, we've got Amarian Hampton. Now, this is a strong running back class, boys. Really, really strong. There's going to be multiple guys that we mentioned. We'll probably mention the first 12 picks, I'd imagine, for this segment here. But another running back, strong running back. We're comparing him to the likes at 104 to James Cook and Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs probably getting on a bit in age. James Cook, well, he had a brilliant year last year, but there's problems with him wanting a new contract and getting paid some big cash. But I look, in this scenario, if you're looking for a running back, I'm taking the 104 and drafting Hampton. That's if you wanted a running back, if he's going to make the difference too. I think Josh Jacobs has got a lot of miles on his body personally, and could break down at any point. Unfortunately, with Josh Jacobs, we see seasons where he goes up and down, up and down, up and down. We don't see any consistency out of him from year to year. And James Cook, well, that could be anything, I suppose. He could be a top 10 running back next year, or he could just falter. It's going to be a big year for him. But I'm taking Hampton, boys. Again, depends on landing spots. But Hampton looks like he's going to be the goods.
Yeah, agreed. On O'Marion Hampton as well, someone like him who had a 40+% breakaway percentage in his 1 year in college, someone that's got that big play upside. That's the kind of dude on a mid-round first or, early to mid-round first. I'm much going to prefer taking the stab on a guy like him than, where his value is close to that. Like on the list there, you've got Xavier Worthy, the corpse of Christian McCaffrey, Devonta Smith, Bryce Young. I'm taking Hampton and the possible upside over the next, 8 to 10 years of that guy over the next 1-2 years. I'm getting out of those, I guess, more well-established players or the guys that are on the come up. So I know that kind of goes against what you mentioned about the second, third year wide receivers with Xavier Worthy. I'm not really a fan of his, if I'm completely honest, but with all those other guys in that bracket, I'm taking Hampton. And again, we keep saying the disclaimer, depending on where they go, but I'm probably taking upside in the draft over the more well-established names there.
Yeah, and you're right about the upside and second and third year wide receivers. I just don't know if we're going to see that out of Worthy. I agree. He's already in trouble to a degree at the moment. But
something about the Chiefs, man. What is going on with the young dudes at the Chiefs? It's non-stop.
Yeah. But yeah, if we're comparing it to Devonta Smith, who's stuck behind AJ Brown, but has his weeks, DJ Moore's in that same little category there. Yeah, it's crowded. But the 104 for Hampton, I think is pretty good value if we're comparing it to those sort of guys. Mullin,
and just to say, let's just say for argument's sake, because I know Hampton, there's rumors that he's probably a first round talent and he probably will go in the first round. Let's just say Dfab, let's say he goes to your Broncos. How high is Marion Hampton in that system? Sean Payton has pretty much the whole backfield to himself. Like no one else is ever going to touch him. I think if he goes to the Broncos, I'd put him up there with Devon Achane personally. I think that his 100%. His potential upside is going to be way up there with the best of them. And he's a big, huge beast of a running back, and he ran like a 4.46. Exactly. So he's got wheels to go with it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And this is why it's all well and good doing these values now, but it really is about where they go. Like someone else, so Matthew Golden, who's supposed to be a, I guess mid to late first round pick, if he somehow gets picked up by the Bengals or the Broncos or someone that's sitting in that kind of spot in the mock draft, he's immediately sitting as a, either if worst case scenario, the Bengals is probably wide receiver 3 with T. Higgins, who's just been franchise tagged, who might be out. So if he's wide receiver 2 for the next 5 years in a Joe Burrow offense, he's going to skyrocket and he might be worth to you something like the 103. It's really about where these guys land. But at least if you're trying to make a move pre-draft and you believe in one of these rookies, this is probably a really good guide to work out which ones of your existing guys do you think is a good value to trade to get these picks. That's where I think I'd find most benefit out of these names. Not so much to try to trade away unless you've got the 101 or the 102. It's more about what can you trade to get into the draft if you believe in these certain players and whether you think they'll end up. Oh,
absolutely. You can look at it both ways. You can look at it if you want to trade out or trade in. It's really sort of flexible to that degree. Again, it depends on where your list is at. I think that's also a big thing. If you need running backs, this is the draft for them. For sure. If you've got a surplus of wide receivers in your roster and you want to make a move to get back in to get a running back, perfect. Like this is exactly what I'm talking about when it comes down to flexibility in rosters, I suppose. I mean, I'm a Josh Jacobs owner in Dynasty, and he won me a championship last year. But I've got a mentality in Dynasty where I can only hold these guys for a certain amount of time before I want to flip them off for a younger running back. So, I'm still in the win now window. I might move Josh Jacobs off to another guy who thinks he's going to be in the window for 104 to get another running back. So
great move.
Yeah, so I like to get younger immediately. I've done it with James Cook. I actually started with CMC, ended with Eckler. Now I've got James Cook. So I gradually just get younger and younger and younger after a couple of years. I move them on so quickly. They have a 2 to 3 year window on my roster max until they moved.
Yeah, that's the way to play. Stay warm.
It is. Now, the 105, boys, I think we could every chance be seeing a bit of Travion Henderson at the 105. Another good running back we've got here. I mean, between him and Hampton, boys, I can't really split them personally. They're both very, very good. Again, depends on landing spots. But, 105, we've got Christian McCaffrey, Devonta Smith, Bryce Young, which is probably a bit optimistic. DJ Moore and Chase Brown, who's come out of the water this year, looks really, really good. and probably has no competition now too. So, if we're looking at trading the 105, I'd be looking at more of a DJ Moore if you want a receiver to win now. I think he's going to look really, really good in this new Bears offense as probably as the number one, I'd imagine. I really like his skill set. I think he's been underutilized big time in Chicago thus far, and it's probably going to be about time where DJ Moore, gets that not alpha, but possibly, wide receiver 12 to 14 numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, on that, with the 105, I've got a question for the both of you. So let's say you're in a PPR league. Obviously, there's a premium on pass catches. You've got, I always mispronounce his name, Emeka Egbuka, 4-year senior, was a little bit hurt, but he's the Buckeyes all-time leader in catches, really, really capable hands. Are you taking someone like a DJ Moore over the upside of an Egbuka who could end up at like the Texans or the Rams or the Ravens or the Packers? Like the Packers are very desperately in need of some wide receivers. If you've got the, what seems to be the consensus, wide receiver 2 on the board and they pick him up, are you moving the 105 for someone like a DJ Moore or a Devonta Smith or a Zay Flowers, or are you holding for your rookies?
Just to jump in, I guess it depends if you're a win now and kind of the layout of your team.
Yeah.
If you do have those older vets, I think you probably just stay the course and solidify something with DJ Moore. But if you've got younger up and coming guys and you want to kind of keep it that way, everyone's kind of under 26, 27. I think Egbuka, kind of based off what I've seen so far, I think he's got a very safe and high floor.
Agree.
Of course, depending on leaning spot, like we've been talking about, I think he'll be a very safe player, a good serviceable wide receiver 3 or even wide receiver 2, depending on that leaning spot, of course. Yeah, I'd probably, I think for the most part, I'd probably be leaning towards Egbuka. Yeah, but if you are contending and you have a really good shot, older running backs, and just go all in, take DJ Moore, you know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Perfect segue there for the 106, which is going to be Egbuka. So I really like that from you, Dfab. You're a upcoming host, mate. You've got this covered. You've got this game covered. But
I couldn't sit in your hot seat, mate. That's all yours.
But yeah, the 106. I mean, comparing it to Chris Olave, for example, that's a pretty good comparison, in my opinion. What would you prefer? Again, depends on landing spots, as we keep harping on about all bloody episode. But it is really a big thing. If you were to land the Packers, I don't mind that. It's still a crowded house to the Packers, but they need a emerging wide receiver 1. They're still sort of crying out for one. He could be the man there. He really could be in a pass-friendly Jordan Love offense. But I also really, really like Chris Olave. I think he's going to have a bounce-back year. I think he's sort of slept on a little bit now in fantasy drafts too. Obviously concussions is still a massive thing for him that he needs to get over, but talent-wise, Olave is really there. So, healthy year, Olave for the 106, I think is a bit of a steal.
Agreed.
Yeah, right. I'm probably the opposite. So, me personally, again, like if we can get Egbuka, let's say he does go to the Texans. I know they just got Kirk, but reunites with CJ Stroud. He's one of these old college QBs. I'm probably taking the gamble on Egbuka at the 106 over someone like a Chris Olave or something like that. I know that's probably a bold take. Again, I guess it's down to roster construction. In redraft, I'm probably a lot more likely to want to have an Egbuka and take a late round flyer over someone like an Olave, who's, I'm guessing, I haven't looked at it in a week or two, but I'm guessing is probably a 3rd or 4th round pick at the moment. But in terms of dynasty, for me, that's a real coin flip. It's just going to depend. We need to stop saying it. It depends where they land. But I really, really believe in the talent of Egbuka, and I think he's going to be able to impact straight away. Like we seem to see 3, 4, 5 wide receivers in their rookie year. Some of them, like the last couple of years, there's been people that are blowing up from day one. But towards that back end of the year, we always get the rookies that seem to, find their stride. They understand the playbook. I think a 4-year senior coming through, possibly with his old college QB, I believe someone like that can impact straight away. So he stays pretty high and is probably over someone like a Flowers or an Olave for me.
Mate, you can't argue with my you can't argue with my takes, mate. I've got 5 rings now in dynasty football, mate. I need 2 hands. So anything that you say, you're just talking to the champ over here, mate. You can't argue with the champ.
Just to jump in there, guys, I don't think you need to pay the 106 for Chris Olave at the moment. I think a lot of people are really down on him. I think you could probably get Ibuka and Olave. Move 108, 109. I honestly think that would get it done in a lot of leagues. I think, the 106. Please don't pay that much. I don't think you need to.
I agree with that.
Talk to the rings, boys. Talk to the rings.
I can't wait to see you get knocked down a peg this year, mate.
The 107 boys, we've got Shadur Sanders there at 107.
Yep.
Who feels like it's a little down on him at the moment. I mean, again, going through the whole college season, it was all Shadur Sanders. Where's he going to end up? He's the 101. Vegas are involved, Giants are involved. There's a little bit of a showdown to try and get him. He's wearing Giants cleats, and it was just a circus at some points. But now, if we're talking about jumping down a couple of pegs, mate, that is Shadur Sanders. He's probably sitting around the 107. I don't know where he's going to fall. He's probably going to be the second QB drafted. I'm not massive on Shadur. I was probably bigger on him through the college season, but now I'm a bit off him. But a direct comparison to a QB at the moment is Tua Tagovailoa as I suppose a direct swap. I'm not massive on Tua personally for Dynasty, only because of his health problems. If he didn't have health problems, I'd be higher on Tua, but that's where his value is at the moment, I suppose.
I think for me, the 107 and comparing Shadur Sanders, I think you can get JJ McCarthy for the 107. I think that's a better pivot. Just given, Shadur, if he does go top 5, top 7, those landing spots aren't really going to be ideal compared to a JJ McCarthy. He's set up with just the riches of the riches there in Minnesota with all those weapons that he has. So I think, you could easily move off the 107 for someone like JJ. And, we can see there on that startup, there is a couple rounds difference, and I think you can, capitalize on that value. I'm sure, it'll be interesting. It's just so hard to kind of get a gauge on these guys, especially with kind of the media presence that they have and his dad Dion and everything that they kind of do. It'll be an absolute saga, I think, come rookie draft night at the end of April for the NFL with Shadur. He's a very polarizing rookie. I'll say that much.
Now, if I'm looking at the 107, just to jump in there, sorry, Dfab, but the 107, I feel as though if you had the 107 and you're on the rise, right, you don't need QBs, and Shadur is available at 107, and you were tight end needy. You're very tight end needy, mate. There's a guy named George Kittle sitting right there that you can do a straight swap for, who's going to be probably the number one at San Fran for, let's say next year, 100%. He's going to absolutely dominate with all that target share next year under a Purdy offense as well, who's looking to get paid. So the ball's going to be pinging around. I really like that 107 to Kittle trade if you need to do a direct swap. I don't mind Jalen Waddle. He's been underwhelming for the most part in his campaign so far, but Tyreek Hill eventually is going to retire or leave. But George Kittle, if you're tight end needy and you're looking to rise, that is probably the deal right there that I'd be looking to crunch.
So I've been waiting for Sanders to pop up in our list, because this is probably for me, he's my 101. So if you can get him at the 107, 102. I lie. Sorry. Genty is the 101. But for me, especially if you're QB needy, he's by far the 101. I know that, he's looking at either being realistically at either, the Browns, the Giants, the Pats maybe make a pivot if he somehow drops to 4. No matter where he's going, he's probably going to a team with a bad line. He was in an offense last year that was 51st in pass blocking, so he's NFL ready in that he's used to being rushed. He's hyper accurate. He's got great footwork. He's got a lightning fast release with his pass. I think he has everything in terms of on-field characteristics to be elite very, very quickly. The biggest knock on him is his old man is hyper arrogant, a massive personality. And there's these, he's overconfident. He's arrogant. To me, that's not a bad trait in someone that you need to run your entire franchise through, essentially. It reminds me a lot of, words right out of my mouth, mate. It reminds me of all the LeVar Ball and all the slander on Lonzo and even LaMelo. It's like, oh, these kids can't do it. You know, their draft stock was hurt because their old man was just this ridiculous mouthpiece, and they've come to the league and they've turned out to be realistically all-star caliber with LaMelo and Lonzo. If he wasn't hurt, he looks one of the best two-way guards in the NBA, right? So I don't think that the knocks on Sanders are because of anything he does. I think he's just this really confident dude who knows how good he is. He's shown on his field over and over and over again how accurate he is, how good his IQ is, how good he can handle a collapsing pocket. And I don't think his success is going to be dependent on where he goes. I think he's going to be really, really solid no matter where. It's just the ceiling will be dictated by where he lands. I'm massive on Sanders. For me, he's, as I said, if I'm QB needy, he's my 101. If I don't need QBs and I've got two guys I'm happy to start in a Superflex dynasty, I'm taking him at the 102, whether I need a QB or not.
Over Cam Ward, 100%?
Over Cam Ward, easy. For me, it's not close. It's really not close.
Love it. Yeah. Plant your flag.
Hot take, but yeah. Flag in the ground, mate. Yeah.
He's going to be your one QB quarterback next year in our home league. So you love those sort of guys.
You know what? I love a late round QB. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm a massive fan of Sanders. I think he's gonna go really well.
Nice. And mate, I want to say it too. I really do like him. He's falling in draft stock at the moment. Warranted or unwarranted, he is. So it could be a nice little surprise if he does fall for someone. But I do expect him to go in the top 5, 100%. And Cam Ward versus Shador, it's going to be an interesting battle to see how they go in the draft, because they're pretty much neck and neck at the moment for draft stock. So yeah, one to watch.
Yeah. For sure.
The 108 boys, I've currently got Tyler Warren sitting there at the 108. This guy is a absolute beast of a player. The 108 at the moment is in comparison to DK Metcalf and George Pickens. That's pretty funny. Jamison Williams, Tyreek Hill, Anthony Richardson, Brandon Ayuk. So it's always hard to know you're putting a tight end there. And again, 108, you're probably, in 12-team leagues, you're not far off. You made playoffs, you've lost in the first round. You're not that far off. So, taking a Tyler Warren might boost your advantage and going all the way. I think this guy's going to be a beast, man. I really do. I'm really bullish on that too. Landing spots. I know we've said it a few times, but landing spot's massive. But if you did want to trade this pick, I'm not sure I feel about Tyreek Hill or Jamison Williams at the moment. But and Anthony Richardson at the moment for a discount is juicy. I don't think he's that bad. I think he's bad, not that bad. But I think there's signs there to life for Anthony Richardson. I thought the second half of the year was positive, and another off season in the system. Time to learn, sitting there, watch some tape, go through some reps. Let's get better, Anthony Richardson. And it's scary to think he's in comparison to like the 108, 109 at the moment. People are questioning his job security. He's his first full year in the NFL. He's going to get better. Has to get better.
Can't get worse.
Yeah. It just talking about, like what you touched on, Maverick, if you are at that 108, you're a decent contending team. You're probably a couple of pieces away. What do you guys think about TJ Hawkinson or Tyler Warren? If you do have that build, a couple of pieces away, just the tight end that you need to throw yourself over the top. I think TJ Hawkinson is probably where I'd be. What do you guys think?
I'm probably unpopular with my approach on tight ends in that it's almost a punt position for me, in that it's so hard. Like, if you've got one of the top 2, top 3 guys, great. If not, I don't think the ceiling's high enough with most of the other guys around to justify not taking the stab at the guy that could be, the next Sam Laporta or, the next Mark Andrews back before he had last season. You know what I mean? Like, I'd prefer to take the punt on Tyler Warren than I would pick up an aging George Kittle or a TJ Hawkinson or something like that. That's just me personally. On that, you mentioned Tyreek Hill. I don't reckon the 108 gets Tyreek Hill.
I probably agree with that.
Like if you're in a first, if you're in like a second year, like let's say it's your second year in your dynasty, it's the first off season. There's no way the 108 is getting Tyreek Hill. Let's say you're in the dynasty for 5 years. There's still too much of it's very rare that for a 108, you're going to get a guy that if he's on could be the number one
Top
overall
five.
wide receiver in
Yeah.
fantasy. You're just not getting that done.
And that offense was a basket case. It was seriously a basket, and that was just due to injury. It's all it was.
Exactly right. Yep. So I'm still a big believer in Tyreek Hill. If you can somehow get it, even for like the 105, 106, I'm getting Tyreek Hill, especially if you are on that bubble. It's like you've already got a good team. You just missed out. Take the stab at getting a guy that could be a top 5 straight away, like from week 1 to 2025. But that being said, if you do have a Tyler Warren, or if it is I bring up Matthew Golden or something like that, and you're trading for players like that, Brandon Ayuk, Jamison Williams, George Pickens, I'm happy making those moves.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Now, if Tyler Warren pops off and has a top 2, top 3 fantasy season, we almost got to look at changing the narrative, I suppose, for rookie tight ends. Taking 2 years to really come on, because 2 years in a row now we've had tight end ones that are rookies. So I think Tyler Warren, he can't fuck it up for us. He cannot fuck it up. I want to change this narrative. There's a second tight end we're going to mention a bit later on who's going late first, but I don't think he'll make it. But we'll go through there a bit later. But the next pick, boys, was the 109, which is sitting right here. Another running back, and I'm really, really high on this guy. But it's Quinshon Judkins. He was awesome in college. Had a really, really good year this year. It puts him in the Joe Mixon category for a direct swap. Again, as I said before, Mullin, I'm going to start with you on this one. 109, you're very, very close. You might be one move away. You seriously could be one move away to getting it. Joe Mixon could be the guy. You straight swap for him. If you're not sure on Judkins, or you're not sure on Caleb Johnson, who will be the next pick guy we'll mention, an established guy like Joe Mixon, who was awesome, really, really good for those first 10 weeks and then dropped off pretty quickly, could be an interesting straight swap.
I think if you've got that on your hands, I think for me, it's hands down. I'm taking the 109 and whatever RB that falls there. Like you touched on earlier, Maverick, you want to move away from these older guys. You know, you want to be a year early just so you're not left, with your hands down your pants, just, or pants down, just thinking his value could just plummet, right? Mixon, he's 29 or whatnot, and like we mentioned earlier, Laramie Tunsil, the left tackle, he's gone from the Texans. They won't have as good of a running game this year compared to what they did. So for me, that's easy. Even if I'm contending, say I just won the chip with Joe Mixon, I'm happy to move him for the 109 and kind of reset that RB position, and even get someone that could have a higher ceiling at the end of the day than Joe Mixon.
Yeah,
I'm making you look good, boys. I'm making you look really good. I'm trying to just throw a little juicy one in there, but you keep going to the 109s and the 110s. You're learning well, boys. Take the rookie running backs. It's a key to success.
If you've got a chance to get, let's say, like a Caleb Johnson or Quinshon Judkins, the next 2 by ADP in terms of running backs, I'm taking those 2 every day of the week over those other kind of players in that space, like an Alvin Kamara, Jaden Reed, David Montgomery, Tyrone Tracy. I think the upside's probably a lot higher. Tyrone Tracy's maybe a little bit of a question mark because he's still quite young, and if the Giants do get like a Sanders, then maybe his value goes up because Colorado did a lot of little screen passes and incorporated the running backs quite a lot. So that might change with him. If you can get Tyrone Tracy for the 110, that might be worth a stab. But with all those other names there, like, I'm not sure when this was updated, but Jalen McMillan probably off your board with the Godwin news. Ricky Pearsall hasn't really done anything. Mark Andrews, he's 1 foot out of the league already. Josh Downs, like, see what I mean? Like, these are guys that you've kind of seen what they've got to offer, or they haven't shown you anything, which is basically making them a rookie pick anyway. Go with the guys that give you the opportunity at getting a real home run hit. Yeah,
and mate, I'm going to put it out there as well. During this period between now and the rookie draft, and probably to the NFL fantasy rookie draft, might I add too, I am not trading for any running backs at all.
Stay clear for sure.
Yeah, I'm taking, again, as I said before, it's a deep running back class. I think these guys are going to find some nice spots. I'm not trading for any running backs. I think it'd be stupid to do that. It depends on like the deal, obviously. I mean, you might be getting an absolute steal, but if you're trading a first round pick, if that being 104 to 106 to 107, whatever it is, for an established running back, I think it's just such a bad move. Because you're going to get someone who's 3, 4, 5 years younger. And these guys can play too. We're not talking about a little stab in the dark here. These guys can play. They'll be used immediately off the bat too. So I'm really, really confident by taking the picks over the established players for running backs this year.
And just to segue and throw a little example in there, imagine you trade Chase Brown and the Bengals pick up a running back in round 2. I could see it happen. Maybe not round 2, but I could see it happen in round 3. Then Chase Brown, his dynasty value is just absolutely nuked. I think if they spend a second or third round pick on a running back, just goes to show how talented this class is. People are saying it's been the best class in 5 or 6 years alone, just in that running back category. So definitely, agree 100% with you, Maverick. Please do not trade for running backs before the rookie draft, unless you can get an absolute great deal. But it's just so many things are going to happen. So many teams are going to draft running back just because of how deep this class is. Hold off until after.
And on that, just to add an additional layer to that, if you have the opportunity to trade away your aging running backs. So if you've got a Joe Mixon, if you've got a David Montgomery, if you've got Derrick Henry, if you've got an Isaiah Pacheco, Travis Etienne, any of these guys, they don't have to be old per se, but if they're in either an underperforming team or they weren't really top 5 in their position, or they're past the age of 25, I'm moving them away. Get yourself a first or a second round pick and get yourself one of these rookies, because there's going to be plenty of opportunity around for those guys. And you're right. Let's say you've got, Christian McCaffrey, and yes, he's probably a bad example because let's say you're a Joe Mixon owner, right? Had a really good year, was a little bit iffy towards the back end of the year, broke down, couldn't handle the workload. They go in and they spend a day 2 pick on, or a second round pick on. Let me throw a name out there, like a Cam Scatterbo, RB6. I'm much rather having him on my squad, and you could probably still get, by this, the 109, maybe the 108 off of Joe Mixon. So trade away your established guys, get yourself some picks, and rely on the rookie draft or your younger guys that maybe didn't hit the first year, like a Tyrone Tracy or something like that, or a Tank Bigsby, and try to rely on those guys to be the ones to build you back up in the running back room.
And I know you mentioned Pacheco just before being an option to trade away. I totally agree with Pacheco. He's coming into a contract year. They ain't going to pay him. They won't do it. Now, there's, again, a fantastic running back class here. They could spend a first-round pick on a Hampton, a Travion Henderson, a Judkins. Yeah, and I really was about to say that. I really think they could do that. And
correct me if I'm wrong, they brought in... correct me if I'm wrong, they brought in Elijah Mitchell. He's not threatening Pacheco for that top spot. He's very clearly a depth piece, but you don't want to be running into a season with Pacheco followed by Eli Mitchell. That's two, what you could probably say now, both injury-prone running backs.
Yeah.
It makes too much sense for the Chiefs to go and get themselves a high-value running back. I don't think they get one in the free market. Yeah. They need to get one of the rookies.
And especially with what just happened in the Super Bowl, they could not establish anything. You know, with that running game, just how weak it was, the Eagles' D-line were just eating them up. So, yeah, they do need to invest heavily in that, take a bit of the pressure off Patty Mahomes, as good as he is. But, yeah, without a running game, you're left vulnerable like we saw in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and on that, not to get I don't know, we're harping on this a little bit, but what I find really exciting about this draft and the fact that the Detroit Lions have been so good the last 2 years, running with two very clear, what ended up being top 12 running backs for fantasy, is that you can see worlds where someone like an Isaiah Pacheco or an Alvin Kamara or a Chuba Hubbard or someone like that, they can bring in a second guy. Yeah, their value gets hit, but that second guy can be impactful pretty much immediately because they're going to start being so dynamic, running two running backs out of the backfield, essentially splitting carries. They're going to have different roles, but roles that complement each other. I still think the first one I ever saw was the names might be wrong here, but when it was Joe Mixon and Gio Bernard at the Bengals,
Yeah.
that was kind of that first example that I can remember seeing, at least in my time in fantasy, where you had, kind of like a hustle and flow, someone that was the banger between the tackles, and then someone that would catch it out of the backfield. Obviously, the best we've seen has been Montgomery and Gibbs the last couple of years. They're the ones that I think could be super, super exciting, which is why I want to trade away the established name and try to get the new hotness that comes in, because they're going to have value pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
And just to add it, I was just thinking of examples off the top of my head as well. Kamara and was it Mark Ingram on the Saints?
Yeah.
Sean Payton was running those two. Like those guys were like very, very similar, to Monty and Gibbs at the moment with the Lions. So I think they have kind of changed the landscape, and with how deep this class is, a lot of teams could be picking up that same philosophy.
Yeah, with the Pats as well, when it was James White and LeGarrette Blount, it's real like crash and bang, and then someone that's a little bit more dynamic. It's happened for now the last 8 to 10 years where that's happened. That seems to be the recipe for success with offensive systems in the NFL. So
absolutely. Now we'll finish it off here, boys. We've got 111 and 112. I'm going to sort of 111, 112, and 201. These are sort of a bit of a, I suppose, a Hail Mary at this point, but we got, Colston Loveland in that same category. We've got Matthew Gold in that category. We've got Trey Harris in that category. And I'm just going to put Jackson Dart in that category too. And probably Luther Burden too, if I'm going to add one more. All those 5 players all have a potential to go sort of around here. I really like the landscape for all 5 of those players. Jackson Dart, maybe not, but Trey Harris, I'm pretty big on coming into this draft. I think he's probably the 3rd or 4th wide receiver who you might get at 201, 112, somewhere around there. Again, depending on landing spots. I know we said it again. If the viewers at home are having a drink every time we say that, then God damn it, they're in big trouble. But
that would be a fun drinking game.
It'd be in big trouble. But as I said, boys, it's not really a massive or deep wide receiver class in this one. So there will be a few players that will pop up though and perform really well. I said I do like Trey Harris. Jaden Higgins probably isn't in that category. He's probably more of a second round. But I love
Jaden Higgins, but he's not sniffing the start of the second, let alone end of first round.
No, he's not. But Luther Burden might. Luther Burden every chance. So Matthew Golden, same thing. So I dare say they'll probably sneak into the first round. I think Loveland might miss out, but I don't mind Loveland either. So they're one to watch. But that'll pretty much do us, I reckon, boys.
Beautiful.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here, talking football.
Why is it draft season, man?
I know.
Is it too early for a mock draft, or?
Mate, we're not far off. We are seriously not far off. I'm keen for drafting season. I know we're probably 6, 7, 8 months away from it, but even just seeing deals drop this morning, you're like, oh God, I miss football. I miss waking up at 3 a.m. that alarm going off, or 2:50 should I say, checking your lineups, making sure everyone's still in there, healthy, ready to go. Good times. And then having a shit Monday because you haven't slept. Good times.
Putting up donuts.
I miss it. You hit midday, the days are right off. You're like, fuck it, I'll do the rest tomorrow at work. Who cares?
100%.
Move it across. But awesome, boys. Thanks for joining us. We do have a Patreon link
as always
below. It's free to join at the moment. There's going to be some content in there coming up with rookie drafts and fantasy drafts coming up. There'll be some more stuff along the way that I will eventually put up on stream so you can get a broader view of what the Patreon's all about. But the WhatsApp group's also attached to our Patreon in there as well. It's free to join our WhatsApp. We're just talking football on a day-to-day basis, especially at the moment. It's been popping off. So if you want to hear our takes first up on what we think about these moves, jump in our Patreon and we're very active in there. Give us a 5-star review on audio and YouTube. Send us a few comments. Give us a few likes, retweets on Twitter if you're on there. It just
on that, not to steal your thunder, Mav, but definitely get on Twitter, guys. Our esteemed colleague, Super Coach Horse, has got an awesome giveaway at the moment from our friends at Inside AFL to get yourself a couple of tickets to Essendon and Adelaide with some drinks package thrown in. Definitely get yourselves on Twitter. Have a look. Give us all a follow. get yourselves in the running to win that, because that's a massive effort. And obviously go check out the Inside AFL pod as well.
And you get to have a beer with me. How good's that? Not really.
Actually, you know what? Take back everything I said. Don't do it.
I'll be there in attendance, having a beer, talking
Stunning.
football, AFL, NFL, whatever you want to talk about. Mate, we can talk about, maths if you want to talk about maths as well.
Well, I'm thinking more so talk to Mav about the Mavs. Watch him cry. Ask me about Luca.
Oh,
we probably won't talk basketball.
pain. Absolute pain.
Talk NBL.
Exactly. Love it.
But thanks for joining us, boys. That's Mullin. That's Dfab. I'm the Mav. We'll catch you next week.
See you next week, guys.
See you, boys. See you later.